Ladies and gentlemen, Africa stands at a defining moment in its history. Across our continent, citizens are demanding better governance, governments are pursuing development, universities are preparing a new generation of leaders, researchers, and professionals. Yet one fundamental question remains: how do we design African states that actually work? How do we build institutions that are effective, accountable, legitimate, and resilient? And perhaps most importantly, how do we confront corruption? Not simply by punishing individuals, but by addressing the political and economic systems that allow corruption to survive. I am pleased to introduce Designing States That Work in Africa, the political economy of anti-corruption. The Case of the Republic of Cameroon, written by Dr. Julius Taka and published by author Vicinity in April 2026. This is not simply a book about corruption. It is a book about governance, institutions, incentives, political economy, and the design of the African state. Using the Republic of Cameroon as its central case, Dr. Julius Taka examines why institutional reforms sometimes succeed and why they sometimes fail. The book asks difficult but essential questions. Why does corruption persist even when laws and institutions exist to fight it? How do political and economic incentives influence institutional behavior? How can accountability be strengthened? And ultimately, how can African states be deliberately designed to deliver better governance and sustainable development? The first major message is that corruption is more than the misconduct of an individual. It can become a political economic system. When information is hidden, accountability is weak, and incentives are distorted. Corruption can become embedded in institutional behavior, and the consequences reach far beyond the money that disappears. Corruption can divert public resources away from roads, schools, healthcare, infrastructure, and economic opportunity. It can distort markets, it can reward connections over competence, it can increase the cost of doing business. It can weaken public institutions and undermine confidence in government. Corruption does not merely steal money, it can distort the entire political economy of a nation. This is why the question must move beyond who committed corruption to the deeper question: what is it about the system that allows corruption to survive? But there is another critical dimension of the book. The fight against corruption cannot belong only to governments. It must also belong to ordinary citizens, because citizens experience government every day. They see the roads, they see the schools, they use hospitals and public services, they pay taxes, they interact with public institutions, and they have a legitimate right to ask what was promised, what was funded, what was delivered, and who is accountable. Citizen participation does not mean vigilantism. It does not mean accusations without evidence. It means informed, lawful, and organized civic participation. Citizens can demand transparency. They can follow public projects. They can engage elected representatives. They can report credible irregularities through lawful channels. Universities can research governance outcomes. Civil society can monitor public policy. Journalists can investigate responsibly. And communities can participate in legitimate oversight. When citizens become informed participants rather than passive spectators, accountability becomes stronger. This brings us to the third message. This book is for the people who shape Africa's future. Policymakers, members of government, legislators, mayors, civil servants, university professors, researchers, students, civil society leaders, and citizens themselves. Universities can use the book to stimulate research, teaching, and debate about African governance. Policymakers can use it to rethink institutional reform. Civil servants can use it to examine public administration and accountability. And citizens can use it to better understand the systems that govern their lives. 1. Understand the problem. First, understand why corruption survives and what it does to the political economy of a country. 2. Empower the people. Second, understand why ordinary citizens must become informed and lawful participants in the fight for accountability. 3. Transform the institutions. And third, understand why policymakers, universities, and institutions must engage seriously with the question of how African states are designed and governed. Understand, participate, transform. So I invite you to do more than simply watch this video. Read the book, buy a copy, read it yourself, and then share it. Share it with your government. Share it with your university. Share it with civil servants. Share it with members of government and legislators. Share it with mayors. Share it with civil society leaders. Share it with researchers, students, and journalists. And share it with ordinary citizens. Start conversations, organize discussions, challenge ideas. Examine what these principles could mean for your own country, your own city, and your own community. Africa does not lack intelligent people. Africa does not lack ambitious young people. Africa does not lack resources. And Africa certainly does not lack ideas. The challenge is to build institutions capable of converting these assets into sustainable national development. That requires leadership. It requires institutional reform. It requires accountability, it requires informed citizens, and it requires a willingness to examine not only the symptoms of corruption, but the structures and incentives that allow it to persist. Designing states that work in Africa challenges us to think differently. It challenges policymakers to redesign. It challenges institutions to become more accountable. It challenges universities to engage, and it challenges citizens to participate. This is not only a book about Cameroon, it is a conversation about the future of African governance. Written by Dr. Julius Taka, published by author Vicinity in April 2026. Available worldwide through Amazon, Ingram Spark, and Barnes & Noble. Read it, discuss it, share it, act on it. Because the future of Africa will not be designed by governments alone. It will be designed by all of us.